Making YouTube videos is a lot of work, especially when you're just one guy, not a studio, so I've decided to make this video and take a break from my longer videos to talk about a topic I really love, all the theater references in Hamilton. And I was inspired by this video's sponsor, Amino, which is an app where there's a vibrant community of Hamilton lovers. In fact, Amino is a collection of communities, and Hamilton's one of the strongest out there, 70,000 plus strong and growing. Seriously, you can take quizzes, share fan art, share fan fiction, alternate universes, chat, and just live in the world of Hamilton fandom. I admit, sometimes I get on and I just don't want to leave. It's like you're one of those dog in those dog videos where they're just hanging out with a dozen of the same dogs just being dogs. And if you do check out Amino and join the Hamino, don't forget to follow me, the Hamilton Whisperer. After first hearing about Amino, I've become a big fan of what the team there does, and I've actually joined a few other communities since then, such as the one for musical fans, obviously, but also YouTubers and Vaporwave and Final Fantasy. Why not? And you could check out one of the first things I did there, which was write about how I discovered Hamilton for the first time. It may actually surprise you. Alright, so back to the topic at hand. We know there's a ton of hip-hop references in Hamilton, there's a ton of historical references in Hamilton, but let's talk today about the theater references. And I'm not just limiting it to musical theater, but just theater in general. And I would say there are roughly 4 categories in which these land. The official references, the unofficial references, the references to theater as an art form, and the pieces of musical theater that inspired it. Alright, ready? Let's go. The official references just really refer to the ones that are actually mentioned in the playbill for Hamilton itself. So you open it up and there they are. And we see 3 of them actually come from musicals. Nobody Needs to Know from The Last 5 Years by Jason Robert Brown. Nobody needs to know. Which you'll recognize from Say No to This. Nobody needs to know. The Modern Major General from The Pirates of Penzance by Gilbert and Sullivan, which has been in the public domain for a long time, so this listing of it is just respectful, I guess.
I am the very model of a modern major general. I've information, vegetable, animal, and mineral.
Which you'll recognize from Right Hand Man.
Now I'm the model of a modern major general.
And You've Got to Be Carefully Taught from South Pacific by Rodgers and Hammerstein.
You've got to be carefully taught.
Which you'll recognize from My Shot.
You've got to be carefully taught. If you talk, you're gonna get shit.
And I mentioned that because there are the unofficial references, ones that did not get an official mention. These include Sit Down, John.
Sit down, John. Sit down, John. For God's sake, John, sit down.
That was taken from 1776. Music and lyrics by Sherman Edwards, which you'll recognize from the Adams administration.
Sit down, John, you fat mother.
And the lyric Go Man Go, which is from West Side Story's Cool.
Go man go, but not like a yo-yo schoolboy. Just play it cool, boy.
Music by Leonard Bernstein and lyrics by Stephen Sondheim, which you'll recognize from Yorktown.
You have your orders now, go man go.
And there's also this use of the phrase spending spree, which is a rhyme word that came from In the Heights, and Lynn says it's purely accidental that it's in there.
Well, I wouldn't bother going on no spending spree. Then King George turns around, runs a spending spree.
Also from The Last 5 Years is this phrase,
that you can't spend a single day that's not about you and nothing but you.
and it's mirrored when Eliza sings Burn.
How they deceive you.
And then there are all the references to the art of theater itself.
Don't modulate the key, then not debate with me.
Modulate the key means to go from one key center to a different one, usually a half step higher, like from C major to D flat major, which is what happens in Farmer Refuted.
For shame for the revolution! For shame for the revolution!
Something you've heard all the time, but maybe just never knew what it was called. You can hear it here.
I'll be there on the double, just send for me, oh baby.
And here.
You live for the fight when that's all that you got.
And here.
Don't wanna hear
Here's another theater reference.
We are waiting in the wings for you. Waiting in the wings.
The wings are the part of the theater that are off to the sides of the stage. It's usually where the actors are waiting to come on. And so when they say they're waiting in the wings, that means they're ready to become part of the action on the stage.
Enter me.
He says in parentheses.
The reason why the words enter me are in parentheses is because the standard formatting for stage directions in a script are that they're in parentheses. Although in a script, the stage directions wouldn't be in the first person, so it would probably say enter Hamilton or just Hamilton enters.
I trust you'll understand the reference to another Scottish tragedy without my having to name the play.
Yes, theater people call it the Scottish play because saying the name Macbeth is actually bad luck in the theater. But then of course Hamilton says Macbeth just a little while later, so maybe that's why he had such bad luck. And if you ever do say it in a theater, leave the room, spin around 3 times while spitting and cursing, and then you're allowed to come back. And finally, we get to the inspirations. Thomas Kail, the director of Hamilton, frequently says that the show was heavily inspired by 4 musicals: Gypsy, Sweeney Todd, Evita, Jesus Christ Superstar, and he also says there was a sprinkling of Les Mis, which I covered in my previous video. And what these shows have in common are a focus on historical characters and also on the concept album idea, which Hamilton started out as. And Evita, Jesus Christ Superstar, and even Les Mis were concept albums released before they were ever staged. The opening of the show begins with a narrative song, sort of like a Shakespeare play that begins with an opening prologue. Some people have also likened it to the opening of Sweeney Todd, another musical by Sondheim, which begins with his name.
Attend the tale of Sweeney Todd.
A point which Lin himself drove home in a Hamilton-Sweeney Todd mashup.
And the world's gonna know your name. What's your name, man?
Demon Barbara Sweeney Todd.
People have likened the song Old Friends from another Sondheim show, Merrily We Roll Along, to the story of tonight. Both are songs about friends coming together and celebrating their friendship. And when Lin wrote Satisfied, he says that he was trying to out-Eponine Eponine. Obviously, this is a Les Mis reference to On My Own. Both are torch songs. And this last inspiration is one of my favorite things in Hamilton, because it's from a Sondheim show that is rarely ever done, but is actually the first Sondheim show I ever saw and made me fall in love with his work. In the musical Pacific Overtures, we get a historical telling of the opening of Japan to the West, but we see it entirely from the Japanese point of view. And so when we get to the moment where a treaty is signed between the Japanese and the Americans, we do not see it from a point of view of somebody in power, but we see it from an old man recounting what it was like to be in a tree that was overlooking the treaty house when he was 10 years old. He was there outside when it happened. People have likened this song to The Room Where It Happens. In The Room Where It Happens, Aaron Burr is on the outside of a room where a meeting is taking place between Hamilton, Madison, and Jefferson. And because of the unique point of view of this song and the fact that Sondheim clearly had a very strong effect on Lin-Manuel Miranda, I think it's pretty safe to say that Room Where It Happens is, if not the direct descendant of Sondheim, at least a very close cousin.
It's the ripple, not the sea, not the building, but the beam, not the garden, but the stone, not the treaty house, someone in a tree.
It's a wonderful song, and in fact, Sondheim used to say,
But it is my favorite song, I guess, of anything I've written.
and those are all the theater references in Hamilton. Did I miss any? Let me know in the comments. Please also remember to like, subscribe, and if you want to support me even more, you can go to my Patreon page. And on that note, I want to thank my new patrons, Gary Calvin, Amanda Koski, and Sam Weber. Till next time, peace.